Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural lecture of IEP's Family Trust Professorship in Cardiology by Professor Bryan Yen. Please rise for the entrance of the official procession. Please be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Angela, a PhD student from Faculty of Medicine, currently pursuing the PhD in Medical Sciences program under Professor Bryan Yen. It is my honor to serve as your MC today. To begin with, please welcome Professor Dennis Lo, the Vice Chancellor and President of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, to deliver a vote of thanks to the IEP's Family Trust. Professor Lo, please.
Mr. Paul Yip, Professor Bryan Yen, Professor Philip Chiu, honored guests, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to the inaugural lecture of the IEP's Family Trust Professorship in Cardiology. It is a great honor to have Mr. Paul Yip, founder of the IEP's Family Trust, with us here today. For his gracious benefaction is what made this event a reality. On behalf of the Chinese University of Hong Kong, I'm privileged to deliver a vote of thanks to Mr. Yip and his family, whose philanthropic spirit has enabled CUHK to make further advances in research for the betterment of society. Benevolence and charity are the hallmarks of the Yip family tradition. Over the years, members of the family have been passing on the torch of compassionate giving and showing their staunch support for community projects on education, healthcare, public welfare, and urban development in our country. The goodwill of the Yip's family also extends to the higher education sector. CUHK's Faculty of Medicine is well blessed to receive a generous donation from Mr. Paul Yip in support of the establishment of the first Yip's Family Trust Professorship in Clinical Oncology in 2021. We're much grateful to Mr. Yip for furthering his support for advancing medical research at CUHK, for establishing the second Yip's Family Trust Professorship in Cardiology, which is set to scale new heights for pioneer research in interventional cardiology and vascular medicine, substantially benefiting humankind. A broad spectrum of diseases related to the heart constitute a significant proportion of global mortality. The Division of Cardiology at CUHK's Faculty of Medicine is committed to promoting the advancement of cardiovascular medicine and practice for human good. With a mission to strive towards a healthier heart, it seeks to serve the community through evidence-based medicine, world-class practices, and public education in cardiovascular sciences. The division's work has been crucial in transforming and saving lives. Under the auspices of the Yip's Family Trust, we hope that our research endeavors will yield even more promising results and achieve bigger breakthroughs in cardiovascular medicine in order to benefit more patients. We'll do all it takes to ensure that this noble gift will serve its intended purpose well. Mr. Yip, please allow me to thank you on behalf of the university for all that you and your family have done for us, and for your abiding interest in the development of CUHK as a civic institution. Now together here, we are at the inaugural lecture titled An Accidental Academic by Professor Bryan Yen, Yip's Family Trust Professor of Cardiology, who will inspire us with his intriguing journey of growing into the dual roles of being an academic and a clinician. May I take this opportunity to extend my warmest congratulations to Professor Yan on receiving this well-deserved honor, and thank Mr. Yip and his family once again for their kind support for advancing CUHK medical education and research. So ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a very enjoyable lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lo. May I now invite Professor Lo, accompanied by Professor Philip Chu, Dean of Medicine, and Professor Bryan Yan, to present a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Paul Yip and Mrs. Annie Yip. Mr. Paul Yip and Mrs. Annie Yip, Professor Philip Chu, and Professor Bryan Yan, please. Thank you all. Please be seated. Now, please welcome Professor Philip Chu, Dean of Medicine, to introduce our distinguished speaker, Professor Bryan Yan. Professor Chu, please.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor Professor Dennis Lo, Mr. Paul Yip and family, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for this important occasion. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the inaugural lecture of Professor Bryan Yan, endowed as the Yip's Family Trust Professorship in Cardiology. On behalf of the Faculty of Medicine at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Yip's Family Trust for their generous support. This professorship is a meaningful recognition of Professor Yan's achievements and a powerful endorsement of our shared commitment to advance cardiovascular medicine through clinical excellence, research, and education. I trust many of you probably know about Bryan. As for me, he is actually my late father's doctor. So we have great trust in Bryan in his clinical service as well as his research. Today, we celebrate not only a personal milestone for Bryan's career, but also a broader impact of his work on patients, on students, and on the development of cardiovascular care in Hong Kong, Greater Bay Area, China, and the world. Professor Yan's journey in medicine begins in Australia, where he earned his medical degree from the University of Melbourne. He went on to complete specialist training in cardiology and interventional cardiology at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, followed by advanced fellowship in vascular medicine and research at the Massachusetts General Hospital and Harvard Medical School. He later received his doctorate of medicine degree from Monash University. Since joining CUHK in 2008, Professor Yan had taken multiple roles that reflect his versatility and dedication. He currently serves as clinical professor, assistant dean in external affairs in my team, and also head of academic affairs in the division of cardiology. He also leads the Heart and Vascular Institute and the MSc program in cardiology, where he played a key role in shaping the next generation of cardiovascular specialists. Professor Yan is widely recognized as a pioneer in peripheral vascular interventions. Under his leadership, the Prince of Wales Hospital has become the major referral center for complex vascular procedures, with a reputation of excellence in both volume and outcome. His work has helped establish Hong Kong as a regional leader in the field. Beyond clinical service, Professor Yan has made significant academic contributions with over 300 peer-reviewed publications and an H-index of 58. He is actively involved in professional organizations, serving on council of both the Hong Kong College of Physicians and the Hong Kong College of Cardiology. Internationally, He holds appointments as Vice President of the Asian Pacific Society of Cardiology and adjunct professor at the Monash University. What makes Bryan's story especially compelling is how he described himself as an accidental academic. Despite not setting out to pursue an academic career, he has built a legacy that bridges clinical excellence, research innovation, and mentorship. His journey reminds us that sometimes the most impactful paths are not the ones we don't plan, but embrace with purpose and passion. I trust that this is also how we actually achieve excellence and, reflecting our motto, transforming passion into perfection. This evening, we look forward to hear Professor Yan's reflections on his journey, the challenges, the turning points, and the people who helped shape his career. It is a story of perseverance, vision, and service, and I'm confident that it will resonate with all of us. Please join me in welcoming Professor Yan to deliver his inaugural lecture.
Thank you, Professor Chu. May I invite you and Professor Lo to take your seats in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Professor Bryan Yan.
Thank you. Mr. Paul Yip and Mrs. Yip, Vice Chancellor, Professor Dennis Lo, Dean, Professor Philip Chu, distinguished guests, colleagues, family, and friends. I'm truly honored to stand before you today to accept the Yip's Family Trust Endowed Professorship in Cardiology. I consider myself an accidental academic, meaning it was not planned. Looking back and reflecting upon my journey here, there were many challenges, lessons, and growth. There were key moments, there were opportunities, and also people who have shaped my academic career and my life. Firstly, I will express my deepest gratitude to all my teachers, my seniors, and my mentors. Some have traveled afar from overseas to be here, so thank you. Your guidance, encouragement, and belief in my potential have made all the differences. I hope the lessons I've learned on my journey here can help inspire the next generation of accidental academics. My story began before I was born. My father, Victor Yan, was one of the earliest cardiologists in Hong Kong. One day in 1970, the Dean of Medicine of Hong Kong U, Professor McPherson, just told my dad, Hong Kong U needed a cardiologist. And as simple as that, he was sent down under to the Royal Melbourne Hospital for 2 years of cardiology training with Dr. Graham Sloman. Returning to Hong Kong, bringing at that time the latest advances in technology, advances in cardiology at the time, which was the coronary care unit and the implantable single-chamber pacemaker, as you can see, is as big as a rock compared to what we use now. But little did my father know that his youngest son, yet to be born, will follow his footsteps and undergo cardiology training at the same hospital, in the Royal Melbourne Hospital in Australia, 30 years later. By the time I could walk, my father has already left university into private practice. As I grew up, I thought I knew what being a doctor is like, what being a cardiologist in private practice is like. I observed a regular routine of my father, hospital rounds in the morning, seeing patients during the day in the clinic, and then finish with another round at evening, and then before come home for dinner. I remember visiting my father's office, sitting in his chair, pretending to be a doctor every Saturday before lunch. It was the highlight of my week. Then the remaining weekend was family time. I thought being a doctor is not too taxing. Not realizing how far reality is from the truth, and that the practice of medicine, especially cardiology, has evolved so much over the years due to rapid advances in medicine, now with much, much longer working hours and much, much less certainty. I studied hard in high school, scored high, and chose to study medicine at the University of Melbourne. Was medicine my first preference? To be honest, no. I initially chose science engineering, which at that time was even harder to get into than medicine. I thought that was more prestigious. And then law engineering, arts engineering, and then finally, medicine. I later changed to medicine as my first preference. Why, you may ask, but that will be another story for another day. I studied medicine, during my medical days, I had almost zero exposure to research or interest in academia. I enjoyed my university life, you can see, maybe too much. After the third year of medicine, I passed the opportunity to take a gap year to do basic science research to gain an additional bachelor medical science degree. At that time, I didn't see the value of research or academia, and also I didn't have a mentor to advise me otherwise. My goal was to graduate as soon as possible and continue to enjoy life. But I was wrong, which I would soon find out. My turning point came when I met my dear wife-to-be, my lifelong partner and life coach, motivator, and ultimate supporter, Victoria Vicks, during my internship. Not only is she smarter or intelligent than me, more hardworking and organized than me, and she's clearly more beautiful than me. She saw something in me that even I didn't realize, not even now. Preparing and undergoing the physician, which was the FRACP, or we call it the FCRAP exam, in our fourth year postgrad was one of the most grueling years of our life up to that point. With her support and encouragement, we both passed the FRACP exam together on the first attempt, and I'm forever grateful to her. You can even say I died for her twice. In the process of pursuing and dating Vicks during my internship, I was called to the morgue one day to complete a death certificate of a patient. Being supremely distracted, I put down my own name instead of patient. Not once, but twice on the same day. And I died horribly on the certificate. End-stage renal failure, heart failure, and cardiopulmonary arrest. And for this, I won the Graham Waldo Award for the most notable medical mishap of the year by a Royal Melbourne Hospital medical doctor. I was at a high point in my life, passing the FRACP, but soon I was brought back to reality because of research, or the lack of it. Applying for cardiology advanced training after my exam, I was asked at every single interview about my research experience and my academic output. And I said, what research? What output? I had none. But I said, please, I'm always ready to learn. I'm very keen. And then I realized my days of partying away during university and residency really caught up to me. Luckily, Dr. Leanne Greig, who was the director of cardiology at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, accepted me despite zero research background, probably because I worked hard as the resident a few years before, or maybe from good karma that's from my father at the Royal Melbourne Hospital 30 years ago. My first encounter with research was in 2004, during my first year of cardiology training with this particular retrospective analysis. As you can see, my role was pretty small. Also only doing data entry, and I was only the third on the author's list, but that would change shortly. Seeing my name in print ignited my passion and fire to publish ever since. And the person credited for kickstarting my academic career is my first and most important mentor and good friend and big brother, Professor Andrew Ajani, who has traveled all the way from Melbourne with his lovely wife, Emma, to attend today's ceremony. Without your ongoing guidance, encouragement, and support, I would not be standing today. So thank you, AJ. Thank you. Over the next 4 years of my cardiology training, I helped AJ build the Melbourne Interventional Group, a multi-center PSI registry. From this registry, I call the 21 papers, 6 as first, and more than 90 conference abstracts. Then, after my interventional cardiology training at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, an opportunity arose for me to undergo a combined clinical peripheral vascular intervention training at the Massachusetts General Hospital, and also a research fellowship at the Harvard Medical School in Boston with Kenny Rosenfield. At that time, all the endovascular work in Australia was done by vascular surgeons, and the future of me taking my training back to Melbourne was uncertain. In fact, I was warned by my seniors who also underwent peripheral vascular training overseas had limited scope to practice their craft back in Australia. But how could I pass a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be at Harvard, at MGH, the men's greatest hospital, and Boston, home of the Red Sox? MGH was an eye-opener for me. It ignited my passion for peripheral vascular diseases. I learned also new craft and new skills, and I continued to publish while I was in Boston. As a traditional cardiologist, we are only trained about the heart, not appreciating that the heart is actually connected to all the blood vessels in the body, and that atherosclerosis is a systemic disease that affects not just the heart, but also all the arteries that's connected to it and the brain. And therefore, again, this very new, but perhaps pretty rudimentary perspective and appreciation for peripheral artery diseases, which is as prevalent and as, if not more, deadly than coronary artery disease and cerebral vascular diseases, but is often underdiagnosed and undertreated and ignored. Many years later, back in Hong Kong, I later did a survey which found that one of the reasons for this is that the awareness of peripheral artery disease and the consequences of PAD is very low in the public, and it's something we need to work on. Before I go to the next page, probably a little unsavory pictures. I also learned new interventional skills, especially for the treatment of critical limb ischemia and venous thromboembolic diseases. This is a typical patient, for example, a 62-year-old man with diabetes and end-stage failure. You can see the toes organ or gangrene due to multiple occlusions in the arteries in the lower limb. So with endovascular techniques, we're able to reconstruct the arteries with balloons and stents like we do in the coronary artery, in the thigh, and also down to the foot. And this is the outcome that we can achieve. So the patient's limb is saved. I also learned how to treat thromboembolic diseases. For example, a patient with phlegmasia, which is acute occlusion of the iliac vein, and we also similarly used endovascular techniques to aspirate the clots, angioplasty and stent, and the patient's limb is also saved. And we're able to collect a series of these patients. And these are skills which are severely deficient in Hong Kong at the time. Then another opportunity arose to do a PhD at Harvard or not. I remember one day in Boston, I ran home, exhilarated to my wife at that time, by an offer to do a PhD with Professor I.K. Zhang, who was a pioneer of intravascular OCT imaging. However, the excitement was short-lived, because at the end, I felt too selfish to stay and subject my wife to 3 years of Boston winter without a job and no help to raise a 6-month-old baby. So I turned down the offer. And to this day, I still joke to IK that one of my greatest regrets was not getting a PhD from Harvard with him. However, our collaboration continued after I returned to Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, I acquired the first OCT system and also introduced it at the Prince of Wales Hospital for routine clinical practice and research, and we're able to publish a number of regional papers with IK in Mass General and Boston, with the most recent paper in Nature Review in Cardiology, which is the top-ranked journal in cardiology. So where do I go after Boston? Again, I was another high point of my life, filled with hubris after my peripheral endovascular training at the the Massachusetts General Hospital. But where do I go? As I mentioned, my peripheral skills had an uncertain future back in Melbourne. And then my father convinced me that perhaps there are opportunities in Hong Kong. So I arrived with bravado in Hong Kong, a man without a job and a man without a plan. I was naive and thought that a foreign graduate like me could go to Hong Kong and straight to private practice. But of course, there was not a viable option for many reasons. And also, my wife couldn't practice medicine at all because she didn't have a local medical license. At first, I only thought of joining Hong Kong University because of my father. But I remember meeting Professor CMU a year before at a meeting in Chicago. So I reached out to CM. So, and then he told me at that time, so Bryan, you can continue research in CU, and I can help you develop your endovascular peripheral intervention. Well, there are many reasons why I would join CUHK. So firstly, the feeling that my skills is being valued. And also, I can see the university has given me a balance of clinical research and teaching. And also, I can see the faculty and the universities is very young, vibrant, and has a very global outlook. And we can see over the last years, our ranking in the world is going higher and higher. And also, for some personal reasons, the fact that my father is in Hong Kong and also opportunity for my children, who are here now, for a trilingual education. Time flew, and I've built my career in Hong Kong, specifically in CUHK. And now 17 years later, I'm still here and right where I want to be. Looking back, joining CU was probably one of the best decisions I've made. And I thank CM for that first opportunity to join this family. As promised, I was free to build my endovascular service career, and I teamed up with a vascular surgeon, Professor James Lau, and we established the Prince of Wales Hospital to provide the highest volume quaternary referral system for peripheral artery disease and venous intervention in Hong Kong. We provide a combined service for early treatment from patients with critical ischemia, aiming to save life and limb. And you can see our clinical outcomes for critical limb ischemia is proof of our dedication, with 12-month limb salvage rates as on par with international standards. But our work is not over yet. There's more work to be done. Approximately 400 amputation occurs in Hong Kong due to peripheral artery diseases, many without any prior vascular assessment or intervention, and the referral and wait of intervention is often too late. We've been very active in many areas to answer this call for action. We've done a lot of mass media promotion to raise public awareness of peripheral artery diseases. And then in 2021, we had an HMRF grant to identify high-risk patients for screening, improve diagnosis. We're also currently applying for a new RGC grant to promote aggressive cardiovascular risk reduction in this high-risk population. As I mentioned, we provide a combined service with vascular surgery to provide early referral for limb salvage. And over the years, we have received more than 3 million grants from the SKU fund, and also campaigned for the hospital authority, the medical device funding, to lower the price and improve patient access and reducing costs to the patient. So away from my passion for peripheral disease and back to other areas of research. Building on my experience with the Melbourne Intervention Group and collaboration with Monash and Curtin, led to 2 RGC grants in 2009 and 2011. The second was a multi-center randomized clinical trial with the National University of Singapore and also with Sarawak General Hospital in Malaysia. And the accumulation of 12 papers with the MIG dataset has first of all contributed to my Doctorate of Medicine thesis at the Monash University under the supervision of Professor Henry Crum, who sadly passed away before his time and before I can graduate. But luckily, Professor Chris Reed, who was also a founding member of the MIG registry and also professor at the Monash, was able to take over as my supervisor so that I could complete my doctorate. Unfortunately, Chris could not be here today. So our work with Melbourne Intervention Group did not stay within Melbourne, Australia, as we expanded our collaboration with South Australia, the Malaysian National PCI Registry, and also the Singapore National Registry, together with our Hong Kong Registry. And recently, the registries also from Taiwan, Vietnam, and South Korea have also joined our collaboration. To our next stage, in 2014, I met Professor Ben Freeman, who is in the audience too today, and he has come all the way from Sydney. At the time, Ben had just published a paper on atrial fibrillation screening in pharmacy, and using a handheld ECG device, which he has validated. And our team at CUHK had published a few papers on the undertreatment of atrial fibrillation in Hong Kong. When we had this very short time one-on-one conversation at that fateful 2014 CU Sydney University speed dating event, we both knew we were a medical love match, despite being exposed to many other potential students and partners. I dare say it may be, but my dating experience with Professor Freeman has proven to be almost as successful as my dating experience with my wife. As an incentive for this speed dating event, Professor Song, the Vice Chancellor at the time, promised a one-to-one matching if a collaboration arising from this meeting resulted in a competitive grant. So, I put my thinking's head together and proposed a project of atrial fibrillation screening using the same handheld ECG device which Professor Freeman has validated for automated atrial fibrillation detection. And we aim to target 25,000 screening in our outpatient department and then randomize screen-detected atrial fibrillation to usual care versus patient education, leading to better stroke prevention. The rationale is that atrial fibrillation causes about a third of all strokes, but is often undetected before stroke occurs, and that screening perhaps can identify undiagnosed atrial fibrillation for stroke preventive strategy. Excuse me. For this, I was awarded my third RGC grant. However, I'm still waiting for the one-to-one feces matching. Perhaps I can ask Professor Low if the offer of Professor Sang is still valid after 10 years. The main findings from our project included that there was incremental yield of repeated atrial fibrillation screening at 6 to 12 months interval for patients who were initially screened negative on the first OPD visit, but then suddenly became positive in the subsequent visit. And for this, we won the best oral poster at the European Society of Cardiology in 2017. Our data also showed that the prognosis of screen-detected atrial fibrillation is not benign, and the risk of stroke is high enough to initiate oral anticoagulation therapy, and this stroke is also reduced by the use of oral anticoagulation therapy. We recently published another paper which showed similar findings for younger patients less than 65. But strictly speaking, this was not our target population, technically a protocol deviation. But somehow at the end, when we analyzed the data, there are a lot of patients under 65 who crept into our screening protocol, and so we analyzed the data. However, stage 2 of our RGC study to improve oral anticoagulation use with physician-led education failed miserably. I later collaborated with our nursing colleagues who are doing much better in educating patients. And I learned to appreciate that although doctors may excel in medical diagnosis and treatment, nurses often provide more in-depth and accessible patient education, translating complex medical information and fostering better understanding and engagement with patients. As time passes, my respect and understanding of what makes a team grows. It is not just being about doctors, but also about our nursing comrades and nurse and research team. Due to my research in atrial fibrillation screening, I met an MIT spin-off company who at that time were using a finger contact and facial non-contact PPG to detect heart rate during exercise. PPG, which is short for photoplasmography, is a technology commonly found in your smartwatch, your fitness trackers, and devices that monitor heart rate and blood oxygen saturation, which tracks fluctuation in blood flow caused by each pulse of the heartbeat by shining a light onto the skin and detecting the amount of light that is absorbed or reflected. I proposed to the founder, Ming, at that time, perhaps we can use your PPG system to detect irregular heart rate like atrial fibrillation, because that beat-to-beat variation in facial color can reflect the cardiac pulsatile PPG signal similar to the heart rate fluctuations. And we reported a world's first to analyze pulsatile facial color changes with an iPhone camera to detect atrial fibrillation with high accuracy. And this was published in the journal American Heart Association, also reported to MIT News and AHA News. Then I posed the question, is it possible to increase the screening throughput using this particular facial PPG system to implement atrial fibrillation screening at scale? Because currently we can only screen one at a time. Perhaps we can screen many at a time. So we published this proof of concept study where we demonstrated atrial fibrillation can be detected with high accuracy from multiple patients concurrently with a single camera. And this study, we used a camera looking at 5 patients sitting in a row using facial tracking of their facial PPG 5 at a time, and also confirm whether they have or not have atrial fibrillation. This was published in German Cardiology, and we noted there are 3 limitations at a time. The patient needs to sit very still for 1 minute. We still need a confirmatory ECG after suspected atrial fibrillation, and also a particular issue of privacy, especially with facial tracking. And so we're doing further work to further our research in that regard. One of the highlight atrial fibrillation screening research I've done is co-authoring with Ben a highly cited white paper in Circulation in 2017, together with the atrial fibrillation screening consortium involving more than 100 healthcare professionals from 30 countries. This group is going strong as we recently celebrated the 10th AF screen meeting at the European Society of Cardiology meeting in Madrid in last month. And the group is expanding with more collaborative research and also many high-impact publications in the pipeline. In 2019, I was invited to deliver the prestigious Richard Yu Lecture on atrial fibrillation screening using smart technologies at the Hong Kong College of Physicians annual scientific meeting from the body of work, my work on atrial fibrillation screening. Then COVID hit. COVID came. And it was a period of uncertainty, disruption, and social restriction, and also my most unproductive years. Looking back, it was a fuzzy period which I remember as a period before COVID and the period after COVID. It was also during this period of social isolation that I developed my passion for whiskey. My approach to whiskey was equally academic. I studied a lot of books. I completed the Wine-Set Spirit Level 2 certification with distinction. And special mention and shout out to my good friend Jason, who's here, who also joined me on this crazy adventure. I tasted a lot of whiskey, and I collected a lot of whiskey, based on Mark Twain's principle that too much good whiskey is barely enough. And for those who have visited my home, they probably all recognize my wall. I even bottled my own whiskey, and I gave lectures about whiskey appreciation at conferences. At a faculty dinner recently, I was even told by the audience that this was the most educational lecture of the whole meeting. Well, more seriously, back to 2025. And looking forward, CU Cardiology needs to keep pace with the rapid advances in cardiovascular innovations, maintain therapeutic excellence, and continue to address unanswered questions in cardiovascular diseases. I aspire to lead cardiology in CUHK to ensure and achieve the highest possible standards of excellence in all activities, including research, education, and service, and to continue to mentor undergraduate students and junior doctors to provide high-level exposure, motivation, and supervision in research. We are blessed by a strong team of cardiologists. Many are leaders in their respective field of specialty, and many of you are in the audience. And I dare say and claim that cardiology in CU Prince of Wales Hospital excel in almost all areas of interventions, in coronary, in peripheral, structural, electrophysiology, and also in echocardiography. Well, leading and working with a bunch of high flyers is no easy task. As you know, cardiologists are known to have very big egos and often difficult to get along with, but I must admit we are a cohesive and collaborative group. An honorable mention to Joseph, YS, who is my counterpart as the service head of cardiology, who's responsible for all the boring stuff, like maintaining the on-call roster, answering complaints, and all the holidays, while I can concentrate on the fun stuff, the research and the teaching. And also to Eugene, who is a world-renowned CTO operator with the nickname of CTO Demon, who makes sure that we can maintain the high standard of coronary intervention in the cath lab. And also, I think CP in the back, who holds many hats and roles. Firstly, being a distinguished cardiologist and also being the coordinator of service of this hospital. He also serves as our go-to person for anything that is ethically challenged and of professionalism, and also a guru on food, wine, sake, coffee, anything that requires culinary advice. Recruiting talented academics is not easy. And over the last few years, I've managed to recruit 3 talented clinical assistant professors from the hospital authority. Guangming, Mark, and Kent. I think you're all here. Each have completed advanced training overseas, acquired new skills and perspectives like me, and returned to take up key positions in our team and leading research in their respective field. In recent years, we have sent 3 fellows to MGH, 2 to UMich, and at least 2 to Henry Ford in Detroit for the advanced training. And these success cases will help brand and promote the excellence of our faculty to attract top students and also trainees to choose CUHK PWH cardiology and to develop future physician leaders. In education, I strongly believe in nurturing students and junior doctors by engaging them in research, like how I was initiated by AJ many years ago, who provided me with exposure, guidance, and support. And many medical students under my supervision have also traveled with me to present their studies in major interventional conferences and also subsequently publish the results. It's also important to attract talents from overseas. In 2023, I contributed to the hospital authority drive to recruit more medical physicians to Hong Kong through overseas recruitment exchanges. As an Australian medical graduate, I was a logical choice to help recruit talents from Australia to Hong Kong, more specifically for CUHK. On that day in 2023, more than 100 attendees attended, and I believe more than 40 signed up on the day. Here's where I met Winky, a medical 4 student from University of New South Wales at the time, who subsequently underwent 2 research attachments with us and also presented her work as the first author to overseas conferences. I hope there'll be more people like Winky in our and other teams in CUHK, But this will only happen if we welcome them, welcome foreign talents, and provide them support similar to how CM welcomed me to CUHK. Our Master of Science in Cardiology is our flagship postgraduate course for nurses, which is growing in popularity and with increasing mission since I took over as director in 2018. I realize not only do we have to educate medical students, medical doctors, and cardiologists, but we cannot have a cardiovascular center or hospital without high-quality nurses who are motivated and kept abreast with the latest advances in cardiology. And I'm deeply proud that more than 1,000 nurses have graduated from our program, and I have seen many of them launch to a next stage of their career. In terms of research, I foresee three main research directions of CU Cardiology. One, AI is poised, and artificial intelligence is poised to transform every facet of cardiovascular practice in research in terms of diagnostic, prognostic, and therapeutic cardiovascular medicine. Innovation in data acquisition through wearable and portable devices are expected to further broaden the scope of AI solutions, focusing on remote cardiovascular health monitoring, care, and screening. And also the emergence of omics technology, including genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, metabolomics, and all the other omics, have provided new opportunities for us to further explore the molecular mechanisms of cardiovascular disease, deep phenotyping, and identify a large number of disease biomarkers, personalized medicine. And intervention of cardiovascular disease are increasingly becoming more complex, and we're treating more and more complex patients. And for this, we can foresee that our intervention will be also further be driven by AI to leading to more personalized, more minimal invasive intervention, which us as our division excelled in. Over the years, our cardiovascular, CU Cardiology has been mainly driven by clinical research. And I proposed that in the near future, we need to expand our basic and translation research to address these Achilles heels. As I mentioned, we're entering a new era of AI in cardiovascular practice and discovery. And the medical AI landscape is rapidly evolving. So no doubt, AI will transform cardiology, a specialty that integrates vast amounts of data on patient history, symptoms, ECG, laboratory values, and imaging of all sorts. So how would it change the role of the cardiologist and in medicine at large? Will it become the doctor's little helper, the co-pilot of the physician, or will it take over the plane completely on the journey to the future? Time will tell, but I believe AI will augment rather than replace human intelligence, so that we still, as cardiologists, still probably have a job for those who embrace AI. To expand basic research, we collaborate with our basic research colleagues from the School of Biomedical Sciences to do translational research. In this particular project with Professor Alan Poon, we combine patient-derived human-induced PSC cardiomyocytes in mouse models and also in patient samples to investigate the pathogenesis and treatment of chemocardiotoxicity. Well, chemotherapy is well known to cause irreversible damage to the heart, but there's no specific treatment to cancer survivors who have been exposed to such toxic agents. And we found that DNA damage response, DDR, persists in these patients' heart long after chemotherapy. In our patient-derived PSC cardiomyocyte model, we found the persistent DDR, and this was associated with cellular aging and cardiac dysfunction. And by suppressing CDR using our experimental treatment A, we can reduce this damage and improve the patient's cardiac function in both in vitro and in vivo model. And this proof of concept shows that cardiotoxicity potentially can be therapeutically treated after chemotherapy, not before. And also in line of the FDA vision of using more 3D model in drug research, we are building our own 3D human-induced PCS model that incorporate different cell types to investigate the mechanisms of cardiovascular diseases. In terms of service, we have programs aiming to improve clinical management and also outcomes for patients hospitalized for acute cardiovascular events. For example, acute coronary syndrome, acute heart failure. For example, in our lipid program post-ACS, we have identified a large therapeutic gap. whereas most patients did not achieve the lipid-lowering goal after an acute coronary syndrome event due to both physician and patient inertia to up-titrate the therapy. So patients remain on low-dose therapy and not reaching the target, despite not reaching the target. To address these inertia, we implemented a program where all patients admitted with acute coronary syndromes were discharged on high-dose combination therapy, and also with early follow-up to rapidly escalate the therapy, aiming to reach therapeutic goal. And preliminary results from our first 150 patients have shown dramatic improvement in terms of reaching target 2 months after discharge, compared to in the historical cohort where most of these patients never reached the target, even 12 months after discharge. We have similar program for other diseases such as acute heart failure. So I've talked a lot today about my journey, but what does it all mean and what is it all for? It is for the vision to have a heart and vascular center provide a team-based clinical care with leading-edge research for the treatment of the whole spectrum of cardiovascular diseases. Well, it is for the, but a vision is only a daydream if it is not underpinned by action. And I hope that you can see the development of CU Cardiology is built on 4 elements. Research, which form the basis of academia and advancement in medical science, especially in the field of interventional cardiology and also AI in the future. Teaching the students, the doctors and nurses with more than 1,000 from our master's program, who will be the future of our healthcare system in Hong Kong. And also services we have provided to improve cardiovascular care and address therapeutic gaps in Hong Kong. Provide a Hong Kong-wide service for managing of complex peripheral diseases and also venous thromboembolic diseases. And last but not least, we need leadership. Leadership from top down, all the way from our university administration, from the vice chancellor level, down to our deanery faculty level, and lastly, down to us on the front line in the department level. And all these 4 elements point to the same vision. On a more personal note, what have I learned on my journey? I think I've come a long way as a kid sitting in my father's office who thought that being a doctor is simply following a routine and just simply saving lives. We forget the original meaning of being a doctor comes from Latin, to teach. And we teach patients every day about their health and how to enable them to take steps towards a better health, healthier selves. We also are responsible for teaching future generations of students and physicians. But a good doctor not only teaches, but also has to be a continuous learner. And one of my mentors once told me being a good doctor is also about curiosity, resilience, and willingness to keep learning. As I'm writing this speech, I realized that my accidental journey may not be that different to some of you in the audience. Although my journey started as an accident, I think I am, Although it started accident, I think where I am now is by no accident. Also has led me to many opportunities I've mentioned before, and also adventures along the way. And I owe all my achievement to my team, and also to all those who have supported and inspired me. In the words of Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, he said the most important requirements in success are 2 things. First, being in the right place at the right time, and second, doing something about it. So being the right time, the right place was just a part of it. But the magic happens when you seize the opportunity and act upon it and lead others along the way towards a shared vision. As my wife always says, success only comes to the prepared mind. It turns out that academia is an exciting place to be. And there's nothing more exciting than being on the cutting edge of technology that will change how we practice medicine, and that will also lead to better outcomes for patients. One thing I'm certain is that my journey is far from over, and I look forward to all the challenges that lays ahead. There were times when I doubted myself, many times, but I have learned that perseverance and hard work pay off. So to my fellow students and juniors in the audience, never stop believing in yourself and your abilities, keep pushing forward, embrace challenges, and that success is built on dedication and passion, then you too can be the next accidental academic. So last but not least, I would like to thank my parents, especially my father and also my family, Victoria, Madeline, Matilda, and Harrison. Your unwavering support and constant motivation have pushed me to strive for excellence even during the most difficult of times, and I dedicate my success to you all. So in closing, I would like to sincerely thank my good friend, Mr. Paul Yip, and the generosity of the Yip family for the endowed named Professorship in Cardiology. I promise the funding will be strategically used to support the future cardiology research and development in CUHK and to groom the next generation of cardiologists. So thank you all for coming to celebrate the achievement of this milestone, and I will cherish this moment and use it as motivation to continue to learning and leading the division of cardiology to the next level. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yan, for your inspiring, insightful lecture. May I invite you to join the audience in the front row for one final group photo. Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the inaugural lecture. Please rise for the exit of the official procession.